Good morning, yogis. Namaste. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga. I've got a new mic. Besides it looking really funny on my head, hopefully you can hear me well. So we're going to begin our practice today, as we often do, laying down on our backs. But before you come onto your back, make sure you have everything you need to be comfortable. I'm going to recommend definitely a strap, something strappy, a belt, your bathrobe tie, whatever you got handy, and a couple of blocks or something like that. Might be really nice at some point down the road. So strap within arm reach and lie on down on your back. Just take a moment to get comfortable here. Just make sure that we're good to go. So just leave the feet flat on the ground. You can take them as wide apart as you would like. We're going to let the knees knock in towards one another a little bit. Soften the inner thighs towards the earth. And relax back. Snuggle the shoulders a little deeper down the back. And take a moment to relax. Still waiting to hear from Lawrence and make sure you guys can see me and hear me. So just making sure before I dive us in. All right, we're good. Confirmed. I never know, you know? These live streaming things can be a nightmare. So we'll take a moment to breathe. I like to rest the hands right on the top of the pelvis where the thigh and the pelvis come together. And when you inhale, feel free to give that lower back a little extra arch. And exhaling, we let the belly drop down into the back, and we let the tailbone start to find some length all the way out towards the heels, and let the inner thighs drop in and soften towards each other. And then coming back on the in-breath, you might find a little tilt to the pelvis. The front of the pelvis kind of lifts up and moves a little closer to the thighs. But as you exhale, you should feel the front of the pelvis come up off away from the thigh bones. And the tailbone get longer. Just length of the tail, don't tuck it. We want to keep the inner thighs softening. So one more breath like that, all the way to full, deep down into the belly. And then all the way to empty. Lengthening out the low back, getting some space there. Feel the hands, move them up onto the lower ribs, and see if you can feel the back of the rib cage at the bottom, the lower 12th rib pressing the ground. And then inhale all the breath down into the belly, but moving the ribs sideways. Try not to let those lower ribs lift up off the earth. Take the breath all the way through the sides to the top chest. And then let it go again. As you exhale, you might even use the hands to help soften those front ribs in towards one another, and feel the bottom part of your sternum move in towards the navel a little. Inhaling into the belly, and letting it move up through the sides of the waist, all the way to the top of the chest. And exhaling as we get all the breath out and we soften the front ribs in, we lengthen the tail and get a little more space into the low back, and recommit to the lower part of the rib cage, the lower 12th rib, to the earth. And inhale, belly, sides, and top chest. And then exhale, let it go. Slide your hands right up to the very top of the chest, right under your collarbones or clavicles, and give it a big inhale. So fill the belly, fill the sides, try and keep the lower 12th rib on the earth, and then move it all the way up to the top of the chest, feeling the collarbone spread away from the sternum. Maybe widen out the shoulder blades on the back even. And then exhaling all the breath out. Lower back long. As much of the rib cage connected to the earth as you can manage. And then a full breath in, belly, sides, top chest so full that you can feel the ribs lift up into the hands and the collarbones widen, shoulder blades soften and spread out on the earth and down the back. Big inhale. And all the way out. One last time. Whole three-part breath in through the nose, belly, sides, and top chest. And all the way out again. Keeping that integration of front and back body working together as you breathe. Let's inhale the arms straight up to the sky. You can exhale, pull the upper arms down and ground the shoulder heads into the earth. And then inhaling, we're going to try and keep as much of the rib cage on the earth as possible as we get those arms reaching overhead. I encourage you to spin the pinky fingers in a little bit. Maybe start out somewhere around halfway. And then exhaling, recommit to the belly to the back, the tailbone lengthening towards the heels, the lower 12th rib pressing into the earth. And then go for a little more reach, trying to keep all that in play. Belly, sides of the waist fill. Breath moves to the very top of the chest. You might even get a little more reach. And exhale. Front and back move together. Let's give it another couple breath here, all the way to full. Spin the pinkies even so much that the palms are facing the earth. Try and draw the shoulder blades deep down the back and keeps them integrated there. Another full in and out. Let's draw the right knee into the chest, grabbing it with the hands and giving it a little hug. Then we'll come back, inhaling, arms up and over, foot down, and left side, exhaling. And ride the breath here, breathing in, arms overhead, foot down. Breathing out, we're going to grab the right knee and give it a squeeze. Maybe move that right knee just a little bit further to the right. See if you got a little bit more flexion there. Let's work in the line of the psoas. Inhale the arms over. Foot down and exhale second side. Maybe knee just a hair wider than towards the chest. And inhaling. And exhaling, right knee right back in towards the center line. We're going to hold it here. Bring the hands back around the back of the leg. Remember, you've got your strap nearby. So make sure that that's handy. And we are going to push up through the right heel. Take a moment to feel into the back of the pelvis and the low back. So as you straighten the leg, you do want some energy going all the way up and out through the heel. We want to take the very bottom of the thigh, or the top of the thigh, I should say, where it meets the pelvis, where it's moving into the socket. And we're going to push that forward towards the front of the room into your hands. So your hands are actually pulling back on it a little bit for a little resistance. So you want to feel the right hip dropping away from the rib cage and creating plenty of space between right and left side. See if you can get the right and the left side of your pelvis right next to each other. Maybe even a little natural curve into the low back. And then you'll go after your strap, put it around the ball of the right foot and try and hang on to that action, right? So the right hip is moving just from the socket far enough away where you feel a little descending of the femur down into the hamstring. And the toes still continue to move back towards your face. As you choke down the strap, try and pull from the upper back where you're drawing your upper arms back and down, same as we did when we lifted our arms straight up to the sky first time. And work the exhales, tailbone long. Make sure you got some space in the low back. Big inhale all the way to the top chest, letting it fill. And let's stretch out through the left leg. Give it some push through the heel as you exhale. And breathing in. You might even lift the right heel up or left heel up off the earth an inch or two and recommit to a little push out through both inner and outer heel. Maybe even a little more through the big toe mound of the foot, little toe, pulling back in towards your face. Let's squeeze the left outer leg in enough. See if we can feel the inner thighs soften a little bit towards the earth and a little bit more space in the back of the pelvis. Lengthen the tailbone back out towards that left heel. You can set the left heel down on the ground. Just keep that little bit of rolling in, back of the pelvis wide. Continue to drop the right hip down away from the body. And then we'll take the strap just into the right hand. Left arm can go out to the left. We're going to turn the right toes out to the right. So it's not the toes doing the turning, really. It's the thigh bone in the socket, externally rotating to the right. Big inhale. Let's exhale. Squeeze the belly to the back and feel the left leg pushing down the very top of the left thigh into the earth. We don't want to move the left thigh at all as we start to inhale. Right leg a little open to the right. Squeeze the belly to the back and try and move the top of the left thigh down into the earth, right there where it meets the socket, dropping. And then the right toes are continuing to move up towards your face, but the root of the pelvis, right, the thigh bone where it meets the socket on the right side also continuing to drop forward away from the ribs. So we try and keep the hips level in space. As we give it another couple of breaths, you can always use a block to the outer right leg to make sure you got a little stopper out there. But try not to roll your left side over to the right at all. You want the left side steady, strong, and holding center. Maybe a last breath here. Plan how far you can get out there. Find your intelligent edge. And we'll use the exhale to draw the belly down, the leg back up. And let's change hands with the strap. We're to keep the right hip down on the ground, and the right arm can reach rightward. We're just going to take the right foot far enough to the left where we get a stretch through the outside of the leg all the way through this IT band area, maybe deep into the hip socket itself. So remember the left heel still pressing out, toes pulling back a little bit, standing on that left leg, and softening the left inner thigh to the earth. Let's give it a last breath here. And then we're going to just slide that left foot back up on to the earth, bending at the knee. And you can release the right foot, and we're going to bring it into a little thread the needle here. So ankle goes beyond the thigh over to the left side, and let's actually stick the right thumb into that right hip crease. So where we're looking to drop is right down there. Push the hand into that crease. Feel the thigh bone descend into the pelvis a little bit, and then go for pulling the left leg in at the same time. So you might need to keep your foot on the earth to keep that action. Right? You go as far as you can, reaching the right hip away from the body, flexing the right foot, and then pulling the left leg in. You can be around the left shin or back around the back of the left thigh, whatever is more comfortable. We do want to try and ground the shoulders, maybe even feel that neutral spine and neutral pelvis again. Another couple breaths. We should be getting a distinct stretch into the outer hip, giving it a little freedom, a little stretch. And let's let it go. Both feet flat on the earth. You can inhale, reach the arms overhead. And exhale, we're going to hug the left knee into the chest. Give it a little squeeze. Get behind the back of the left leg and start to reach it to the sky. So push up through the left heel. Try and move the left thigh a little deeper into its own hamstring. Feeling the thigh bone move away from the rib cage and some space through the side of the body. Maybe getting the left side and the right side side by side if you can feel it. Natural curve might even return to the low back, and then we strap up the left foot. And we give it another couple of breaths, seeing what we can do. Shoulder blades down the back, belly deep into the front. And just how much can you get the toes pulling in towards your face? Well, the very top of the thigh reaches away from you, towards whatever wall's out in front of you. And then from here, we are going to give the left leg some extension, or right leg some extension. Push it all the way out through the heel. Pull back a little through the right big toe. Push out, I should say, through the right big toe and pull back through the little toe side of the foot. Imagine you were standing on all four corners of that right foot. Let's lift the right heel up about an inch or two. Squeeze the right outer thigh in towards the middle and try and soften the inner thigh down any amount. So you can create a little more opening in the back of the pelvis. Tailbone to the heel. Shoulders down the back, chest wide. And breathing. Keeping all that going on, we're going to set the heel down. Get the strap just into the left hand. Right arm out to the right. Remember, it's the very top of the right thigh descending down into the earth, as well as the top of the left thigh reaching forward away. So both femurs are dropping down into their own hamstrings. And then we turn the left toes to the left, and we go out to the left side with the left leg, but the right side doesn't move at all. Breathe in and out. Make sure you're feeling into that inner thigh. Wherever you get a little catch, that's a good place to pause and breathe. Continue to externally rotate from the socket. Toes up towards your head and hip down away from the body towards the right heel. What happened to the right leg? Are all toes pointing to the sky? And does it still feel like you're standing on it? Can you feel the right hip grounded, the right side waist pulling down to the earth, the right rib cage into the mat, right shoulder on the ground? Give it a last breath or two. Deep breath in. And on the exhale, we're coming up. Squeeze the belly to the back, draw the leg up. Let's bring the right foot back in. I'm sorry, we're going to keep the right leg out there. We're just going to bring the left foot over to the right, just enough to get the outer hip to stretch. So let's change hands in the strap. Right hand holds the left foot, left arm out to the side. We want to feel the stretch in the outer left leg, deep into maybe that left hip socket. Right toes are still trying to point straight up. Inner thighs soften down a bit. And then when you're ready, we'll slide the right leg back in, and we'll take the ankle beyond the thigh and knee. Flex left foot. Maybe stick your left thumb deep into that hip crease and move it away from you. So push down. And get that right side pulling in so you feel both hips trying to stay side by side. As you get in there, hold on to what's possible. Breathe well. Try and connect the shoulder blades to the earth, the back of the pelvis to the ground. Notice if one side wants to go high and one side wants to drop low. You can create a little symmetry as you breathe. Dropping left hip away from you and hugging right side in. Just another couple breaths. All right. So we'll set it down. Both feet flat. You can take the arms overhead, breathing in. Try to lengthen from the lower back all the way to the fingertips, and exhale. We'll draw both knees in, give them a squeeze. This time nose to knees. Get your belly on. Rock yourself up onto all fours or roll off to the side and press up. We'll take a moment here, setting the hands up. So as you point your pointer fingers dead ahead and you start to get the wrists under the shoulders, just notice this play that you have through your upper arms. So this is where we get to externally rotate the upper arms. You're taking the upper arms in the socket and rolling the biceps and the eye of the elbows forward and seeing if you can get these collarbones to really spread wide in the front, and then try and lengthen the crown dead ahead and move from the center of the chest forward and out, sinking a little of the spine between the shoulder blades. So that's our cow shape. And then exhaling, that's drop the head and tail, squeeze belly and back together. And here you might even feel the outer legs hug in enough that the inner thighs soften back towards the wall behind you. And then come back on the inhale. Try and dial open a little bit from thumb to pinky, feeling the collarbones widen. It's just mild. But that little bit of external rotation is going to help to give us a nice complete feeling of widening the chest and fully extending, and then all the way to empty. You can keep that with the arms, with the legs do the opposite. Right? Just give it another breath. So we have this joint here in the front of the chest where the collarbones meet the sternum. It's your sternoclavicular joint. And then in the back of the body, right where the pelvis and the thighs meet, we have the sacroiliac joint. And I find that there's an interesting correlation between those two joints in my body. And I feel it often when I'm working front body and back body, right in the this pose or many other yoga poses. So one more time, let's inhale chest wide. Work to keep the shoulders well down the back. And then we're going to exhale. Make a nice flat back here. Just squeeze up and in until you find a neutral spine. Curl the toes and lift the knees an inch or two and continue to breathe. Shoulders down the back, crown dead ahead. Hugging belly up and in. Should feel like a little mini version of plank. Enjoy the breath. Let it keep you steady. Let's give it a cat's breath here to soften the spine. Find that little cow shape on the inhale and exhale round. Try not to push the knees up, but just round the spine, tail down and head down. And then back on the inhale. So, and exhale. How about one more here? All the way to full and all the way to empty. Back to an open heart. Spread those collarbones away from the sternum, keeping that thumb and index finger pressing. We're going to pull those hips all the way high to the sky and continue to dial the triceps down and the biceps up towards the sky. Wrapping the shoulders into the side waist. You might walk your feet back a little, take them wider. Finding a downward dog, I always recommend lifting the heels, softening the knees, and really feeling that length coming out of the hands through the low back, back up into those hips. And then it's the thighs, right at the very tops of the thighs that we were working before, pulling back deep into their own hamstrings. That's to soften the inner thighs back. So notice where your feet are placed, and you might turn the big toes in enough so the outside edges of the feet are parallel, grounding the big toe and the inner heel, finding that powerful lift through the inner arch, and squeezing the outer shins in enough so that you can wake up the outer arches, outer legs, and soften the tops of the inner thighs back, continuing to widen the back of the pelvis. Calves and heels might ground. Give it another couple breaths. Widening out through the chest. Try and spread those shoulder blades away from each other, away from the spine. Collarbones away from the sternum in front. And then the external rotation of the upper arms comes into play. We have the internal rotation of the thighs here. Let's give it another breath. Now, as you're ready, let's lift the heels. Inhale out into plank position. So wiggle your feet back into any version of that plank there that works for you. Try and open it up through the chest. Enjoy a couple breaths. So the very tops of the thighs also are lifting where they meet the pelvis to the sky. That's what's keeping your hips up, and then the tailbone back to the heels. Can you put a little micro bend in the elbows, and can you squeeze the forearms in a little bit and open up the chest, externally rotating the upper arms, collarbones widen, front ribs up and in. Reaching through the very top chest. Big inhale. Let's lower down Chaturanga to the earth. Nice and slow. Squeeze the belly to the back. Continue to pull the shoulders down the back. And come all the way down. We'll set up for Cobra. So landing with the forehead on the earth, hands back, right under those elbows. Press the tops of the feet until the knees lift up. Work to connect the little pinky toenails to the ground to get the inner thighs lifting to the sky and the outer legs rolling to the earth. We're internally rotating here. Exhale, squeeze, belly to back. Tailbone to the heels. Work to pull the heart forward and up. Making space around the front of the pelvis. Grounds, the lower back stays long, and we exhale, squeeze belly and back. All the breath out. Belly comes up as the head comes down. Inhale, rising. Lengthening from the front of the pelvis, the shoulder heads lift, blades drop down, chest moves forward and up. Exhale down. And one more time, as high as it feels good. But we want to be able to release the hands here. Keep the legs working. Notice if you started to grip your butt, trying to connect the little toes to the earth. Use your hamstrings. Squeeze. And lengthen tail. Use the front of the pelvis into the ground to lift the chest and breathe well. If you want to bring your hands behind a little further and interlace, you're more than welcome, but keep the elbows bent, the shoulder heads lifting, blades going down, bottom tips of the shoulder blades pushing forward, lengthening you out, and we'll exhale lower. Place your hands right back under the elbows, curl the toes. Inhale fully. Exhale belly to back, press to plank. Inhale in plank, and exhale back. Downward facing dog. Give it a couple breaths. Let's lift the heels high. Soften the knees deep. Look towards the hands. Take a walk. Many steps as you'd like. Come to the top of the mat. And we'll take a breath here, lengthening out, folding into the thighs. Just enjoy a moment. Notice where you prefer to place your feet, how things line up. And then we're going to come back out halfway reaching. Let's pick up the heels and spin them out so we've got the big toes pointed way in. And then try and ground through all four corners of the feet. As you exhale, fold. Just notice what you get, notice what you lose. Take a breath. And then back out halfway. We're going to spin the heels back into neutral. And then we're going to spin the toes out and see if we can bring the heels together. And then find a little more length. Get up onto those fingertips. You use your blocks, all four corners of the feet into the earth, and fold back in. It's a little more of a dancer's pose. We get a different stretch here, don't we? So work the feet, big toes, inner heels, press the ground. And then outer shin squeezing enough that we get a nice lift through the outer leg. Outer arch is on. Then come back out halfway. Let's spin the heels. Let's find a happy medium, right? Lengthening and deepening. And then back out, hands to hips. Exhale. Belly and back come together, and let's press the shoulders into the back and rise all the way up to your flat back to stand. Hands to the heart. A moment here. Finding even standing. Feeling into the feet. Pressing under the big toe and back into that inner heel. Working those inner arches. All the way up through the inner thighs. Try and make a connection to the pelvis. Outer legs hug the midline enough to wake up the outer legs. Soften the inner thighs back, same as we do in plank. Tailbone to heels. And that uplift through the chest. Shoulder heads back, down and in. And let's release the hands. Softening the front ribs into the back. Try and lift out of the kidney area, out of that lower 12th back rib as you spin your palms to the sky. Inhale. Lift and rise. Exhale. Hands down the center line or swan dive it out. Try to lift the pelvis up over the thighs and pour it down. And then come out halfway, reaching. Nice big inhale. Find your flat back. Hands wherever they're helpful. Activate the upper back and then fold it back in. And press to rise. Externally rotate the shoulders into back. And down the center. Staying on the breath, let's inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold it deep. Soften the inner thighs back. And drops the crown, tuck the chin. Lengthen out halfway. Planting the hands, step or float it back. Plank to Chaturanga, or Chaturanga if you're floating. And then lowering halfway. Let's take a breath here. Open the chest. Squeeze the belly to the back. If you can pause in Chaturanga, go over the toes, then into the upward facing dog. If you've already collapsed to the earth, Cobra is probably a better choice for you. Inhaling and exhaling, we're making our way back into the downward dog. Give it a couple breaths. Always come back to that sense of curiosity. Each asana really is kind of a jumping off point for self-inquiry. Just feeling what's happening in there. Let's lift through the heels high. Soften the knees deep. And getting in low, step or float it to the top of the mat. Lengthening out. Deepening it. And press to rise. Feel your center as you ground. Move back in for another round of Surya Namaskar A in your own breath rhythm. We'll all meet back in down dog. Give it a couple breaths here in your downward dog. Same as we did in Uttanasana. Let's see if we can maybe bring the feet a little closer together. Big toes in and heels up and out. Just work the external rotation of the upper arms as well. See what happens when you send those heels out a little bit more. Let's do the opposite. Turn the heels in and the toes out. Kind of Charlie Chaplin the feet here. Down your dog, downward facing dog as you breathe. And then find that happy medium. All right, let's inhale to plank. Exhale. Squeeze your belly to your back and then find that length out through the crown. We're going to lift the right toes up off the earth about an inch or two, inhaling. And then we're going to exhale. See if you can just move that right leg straight to the right, keeping all 5 toes pointing down. Right? So feel the sideways turn on. And then breathe in. We're going to breathe out, turn the toes out, and And then exhale. Draw the knee to try and tap the right outer shoulder. Inhale, take it back. Spin it in. Set it down. Breathe in. We'll give it a break in downward dog. So I'm just kind of breaking down all the little things that happen. Right, we're inhaling to plank. As we move the belly to the back, we're stabilizing front and back. Trying to stay long as we get the left heel up, left toes up an inch or two. And then I like to use the exhale to move the left leg out. You want to keep the shoulders working so you feel the left side waist get a little shorter, don't you? And then we're going to turn the toes, try and draw the knee in, and it gets deeper. Breathing in, you can take it back. Breathing out, turn it down, squeeze it in, set it down. Inhale, and exhale, downward facing dog. Give it another breath. When you're ready, let's lift the heels high, soften the knees deep. Get in low. Step it or float it to the top. Lengthen out, reaching. Find your flat back, heels in the earth. Exhale. Fold a little deeper. Press to rise all the way to stand. Exhale. Down the center line. Drop the hands down by the hips. Big inhale. Weight back into the heels. See if you can squeeze your belly to your back, lengthen your tailbone down. It's almost like you're leaning back into those shoulder blades as well and back into the sacrum. And then we're going to inhale, reach the arms and lift the heels. Lengthen all the way up. And slow with control. Squeeze your belly to your back. Coming all the way down. When you get the weight into the heels, move your hands back behind your hips. Keep squeezing all the breath out, tailbone long. Crown straight up. Shoulders into the back. One more time. Get a little taller. And come on down. Front and back. Integrating together. Let's inhale it up. And exhale. Squeezing in. All right. Touch the earth. Utkatasana. Inhale fully. Exhale. Squeeze your belly to your back, front ribs in. Trying to get that breath moving into the back body. Lifting from the lower 12th rib all the way up to the chest and fingertips. And then maybe the bottoms of the shins pull back a little further. And we get the inner thighs softening down, back of the pelvis widening, sitting a little deeper. Breathing in. Chest wide. And exhale. Sink it in. One more time. Big breath in. And let's exhale. Pull it down the center line to stand. Let's take the arms up. And here we're going to lock the thumbs. Just take your thumbs, pull them apart. Bring front and back together. Lengthening up. And then a little dip to the side. Try to keep your hips level. Lengthen out through the side body. And lean back into the shoulder blades and squeeze front and back together. Give it another breath. And we're going to move the hip out sideways. We'll get that stretch all the way through the side like a kind of a half moon. Give it another breath or two. And inhale your way up. Exhale down the center. Take it back up for the second side. Breathing in, try and lock the opposite thumb on top, pull apart. And then without moving the hips, we just try and move from the ribs. Leaning into the shoulder blades and bringing front and back together. A few breaths here. Explore, stay curious. Notice when those hips really want to move and what happens. How do we stabilize them? And then we let them go for it. Let them pop out to the side. Try and feel the stretch all the front way from the outer ankle all the way to the outer hip and then up to the sides. Breathing deep. Inhale it up. And exhale right down the middle. All right. Let's take it one more time. Utkatasana, breathing in. Breathing out. Sit in low. Inhale full. And exhale. Rise to stand. Let's stand strong on the right leg. And draw the left leg up for tree. So here, we want to do the same thing we did when we were standing. Hug the outer, or when we were lying on our back. Outer leg needs to hug in on the right and even pull back maybe a little bit. Dropping that left side down. I'm going to spin the left femur. and place it high to the right inner thigh. So see if you can get the right inner thigh softening back any amount. Tailbone to that right heel, and I always get a little extra work into the right inner foot. Big toe mound and inner heel, and hands at the heart. Lifting through the crown, lengthening down. The left hip gets heavy. The right side squeezes in. A little balance right to left. And then the tree pose, Vinyasa, is maybe to get your arms up, extending high, breathing well. And then a balance challenge is to try and lift that right heel up, coming all the way up. Ooh, and down. Try not to fall over. Breathe in. And breathe out. Take it down the center. Let it go. Shake it out. And second side. Let's stand on the left leg. So hug it to the middle. And then we're taking the right leg up and we're pushing the right foot into the inner thigh so we get right and left coming together, and we try and balance those out best we can. Right side down, left side in. Up through the front, down through the back. And we're rolling that right femur in the socket to the right. And we are pulling that standing leg straight back. Let's lift nice and strong. Inner foot maybe a little more weighted than the outer foot. And arms up. Breathe well. Steady gazing and steady breathing is really what holds you in place. And if you fall out, you just make your way back in. If you're looking for more, this is my weaker side. Try to lift up through the heel. Bring it back down without falling out. And then releasing. Breathing in. Breathing out. One more time. Utkatasana, chair pose. Inhale fully. Exhale. Now we're going to fold over the thighs. Lengthen out halfway. Step it or float it back, Chaturanga. Up dog or cobra. And we'll land back in downward facing dog. Right away, let's inhale to plank position. And we'll exhale, roll it over to the right side for right side plank. So right shoulder blade's going to go deep down the back. Spin the bicep forward, move the shoulder in. Want to lift up from underneath the right side. Just notice what that left hip is doing. Maybe put your hand on it. Notice if it's dropped back. Lift the heel, internally rotate the top leg. Tailbone grows long. Front of the pelvis lifts. Integrate front and back together and breathe. Couple of breaths. So really powerful external rotation of the upper arms. Internal rotation of the thighs for length. Coming down when you're ready. Over to the second side. Ankle grow longer. Exhale. Over to the side. Join front and back together. Maybe bring the right hand onto the right hip. Spin the left bicep forward. Left shoulder blade down the back. And front ribs in. Tail long. So if you lift that right foot and spin the inner thigh back, lengthen the tail. Maybe hold it in place a little better. Doesn't need to be super high. You can even rest, big toes together, heels apart. Breathing. And when you're ready, Chaturanga through your Vinyasa. Or just land back in dog pose if you prefer it. And as we find our down dog, give it a couple breaths. All right, right leg's going to reach for the sky. See if you can feel the inner thigh doing the lifting. And that left leg pulling back nice and strong. And then foot up in between the hands. Left foot a little to the left. Right hip at a right angle. We're rising Virabhadrasana 1. Right outer leg pulls back, or right thigh pulls straight back. Left outer thigh squeezes the midline. Inhale to the top. Exhale, belly to the back. Tailbone long to the earth. Give it another big inhale, and we're going to exhale the hands down the center line. Open up for Virabhadrasana 2. So you probably want to hop that left foot a little to the right. Try and get the right femur all the way down there to a right angle. And the weight back into the right hip and heel. So root that right heel. Root the left foot, lifting, or I should say pressing down into the left big toe and inner heel to get that inner arch on, and grounding the outer foot to the earth. So we're going to drop this right hip nice and low. There's a little pull back from the right outer knee to right outer hip. The key effort here is to feel this right hip dropping with the external rotation of the femur. So as we roll the femur to the right, the sitting bone goes under, and we get a lift up through the pelvic floor and low belly. And then you might feel like adding the arms. And the back leg, it just pulls straight back to the wall behind you, but it is in neutral, so the left hip is a little forward. The left inner thigh is soft. And you can squeeze the left outer leg in enough to lift the pelvis straight up and down. And then front of the pelvis lifting. Back of the pelvis lengthening. How low can you go? Keep breathing. Let's inhale, straighten the front leg. And then exhale, rebend, finding all those key actions. External rotation of the right femur. Pull the left leg straight back. And let it stay neutral. Squeezing left outer thigh in a little if you need to keep the pelvis upright. Inhale. And again, we'll exhale. Drop it in low. So breathing here. Right outer hip under, pelvic floor lifting. And the reason we get that left hip in neutral is to make sure that the gluteus maximus is not gripping and your tailbone has freedom. And then we'll take the right arm straight up to the sky, inhaling. Lean back into yourself, squeezing belly and back together, exhaling, reversing the warrior. Let's inhale all the way to the earth. And exhale, Chaturanga. Take it through the Vinyasa. Land back in downward facing dog. And we'll head right over to the left side. Left leg reaches and steps. Ground it down a little wider than heel to heel. Lifting up. We're pulling the left thigh back, squeezing right outer thigh in, lifting powerfully out of the right inner arch. Widening out the back of the pelvis, there's room to drop the tail. So we squeeze belly to the back. Maybe a little extra lift. And exhaling, hands to hips. Taking a little hop, heel to heel, or some people like it narrower, but it's usually best for most of us. And then we're going down nice and low. So weight back, or weight into the left hip and heel. Trying to be able to wiggle those toes. We're going to pull back straight through the right leg. Try and get the inner arch lifted, big toe and inner heel grounded, outer foot to the earth. Then squeeze the right outer thigh in so the pelvis comes upright. Front of the pelvis can lift. And the back of the pelvis lengthens. But the key action here is pulling back from the left outer knee to left outer hip. Feeling the left hip drop. Externally rotating the left femur. It heads under. That lift out of the belly. All the way up through the crown. Room to drop in a little bit further, perhaps. And then we'll inhale, straighten. And exhale, rebend. Once again, breathing in and breathing out. Give it a couple breaths here. Right hip in neutral, so the right butt is not gripping. The left hip is headed under, and we're finding a powerful lift through the pelvic floor. And then we'll take the left arm up, inhaling. Squeeze front and back together as you exhale. Lean back. And inhale to the earth. Chaturanga through your Vinyasa. Take your time. You can skip Vinyasas whenever you'd like. And as we do build these poses and things get a little more challenging, you're in charge. You always take care of yourself, modify if you need. Give it another breath or two here in the down dog. Then we'll continue on, right leg rising and stepping. Virabhadrasana 1. Inhale it to the top. Exhale. Virabhadrasana 2. Find that opening of the pelvis. Right hip back, down and under. Left thigh to the back wall, but left outer leg squeezing in. So here you might lack a block as we're headed towards extended side angle. So here we do tilt the pelvis, so we lengthen out through the right side body. And as long as you can, and start with forearm to thigh, left arm to the sky. Continue that journey Weight into the right heel, pulling back into the right hip, outer knee to outer hip, and then down under. That right hip is trying to head to the left. You might go down the inner leg or outer leg to a block. Left leg's pulling straight back to the wall behind you, but the left hip is in neutral. And your glute is not gripping. It's making room for your tailbone to lengthen back towards that left heel. Spin the left palm forward. Start to reach it all the way over the ear, so we're externally rotating through the upper body, widening the chest, and reaching out, finding some length. Give it another breath or two. Right leg is doing the majority of the work with the external rotation of the femur. Let's inhale back to second warrior. Exhale, sink it in. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, keep going back. And back. Inhale to the earth. Chaturanga. Dog or cobra. And we return down dog. Enjoy the left side reaching. Stepping up, one breath. Virabhadrasana 1. Take it to the top. Draw it down the center. Here 2. Take your time to find the hips. Find the ribs. Softening and lifting out of the back. All the way up to the crown. Powerful external rotation of the left femur. Left outer hip moving under towards the right as you lengthen. Keep the right thigh pulling back, making space for the left hip to get under. Start with elbow to thigh or a little bit more. Heading down. Rolling belly and heart open. As we get the left hip under. The right side stays neutral, but it's still working. Inner arch lifting, outer foot grounding. Maybe you can spin the right palm forward and go for a little bit more. Keep leaning back into yourself. And when you're ready to release, inhale back to second warrior. Exhale, drop it down low. Inhale, reverse. And exhale, keep it going. Inhale to the earth. Chaturanga. Back to dog. A few breaths. So you might want your block towards the top of the mat for where we're headed next. Give it another centering breath or two here in the downward facing dog. Take the right leg up and back. And back to Virabhadrasana 1. Inhale to the top. Exhale to your second warrior. Get that little hop. Take a full breath in and out. Just finding this blueprint pose. A little straight in the front leg. And all the same actions. External rotation of the right femur. As we make our way to triangle. Lengthening out through the right side body. And dropping down. So we want to get as much length as we can through the right side. And that might mean softening the left side a little bit. Keep pulling the left thigh back as you lift the left inner arch and ground the outer foot. Keep a commitment to the big toe mound and the inner heel of the left foot in the ground as well. The right big toe presses the earth. Right quad firms, pulls back. We externally rotate the femur, getting that right hip under. And then we're going to transition to Ardha Chandrasana, bending the right knee deep. Here's where you probably want your block. As you make your way out, we are continuing the external rotation of the right leg. It's spinning to the right. So it's going to firm you up here. The left toes lift. Point them down a little bit. Try and lengthen out through the crown. And reach back through your tail. So we're going to be here for a few breaths. If you're feeling curious and want to explore a little bit, try and arch your back like the cat a little, inhaling. And exhale. Return to center. Breathe in. Maybe lengthen out through the crown and the tail, front and back. And then exhale, try and coil in a little bit, like the cat. Inhale back to center. Exhale, get stable. Breathing in. Breathing out, we're going to bend that right knee deep. Stepping back into triangle. Give it a breath in. And a breath out. Big inhale. And hands frame the right foot. Let's lift the left heel and drop the left knee to the earth, coming into a low lunge. Lengthen out of the left knee to the crown. Place the left hand inside the right foot. Right hand's going to go back to catch the left foot. Open the chest and as much as you can comfortably sink the right hip back and down. Might help to squeeze the outer leg in a little bit there on the left. Keeping the symmetry of the pelvis. You might get a little lower. You can always kick the foot back or hug it in. And widen the chest. Try and get a nice stretch into the top of the left thigh. And then we'll let it go, stepping back into plank or downward dog, whatever you need. Breathing in and breathing out. We will all find our way back to the down dog. And we'll take the second side. The left leg goes up. Steps up in between the hands. Find your roots. Rise up, Virabhadrasana 1. And then take it down the center. Vira 2. And breath here. And then straightening left leg. And lengthening out. Externally rotating the left femur. Right thigh, right leg pulls straight back. But we're committed to grounding under the big toe and the inner heel. And then powerfully working that left hip under. Lean back into yourself. And keep your belly working strong. So block or no block, we're going to bend the left knee. We're going out. Continuing to externally rotate the left femur as we reach up through the right inner thigh. Right toes point down a little bit. Make sure that the glute max is helping as little as possible. It's what's going to give you more length, more freedom. And then breathing here, feel free to explore. Right? Can you arch it a little bit, like the cow? Move it back to center. Maybe lengthen through the tail and the crown, feeling that center line. And then exhale, coil it just a hair. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, stabilize. Breathe in. Find that length, and when you're ready, drop it back nice and easy. Triangle pose. Inhale. And exhale. One more deep breath in. Hands down, framing the left foot. Right heel up, right knee down. Low lunge with the left hand catching the right foot. Couple breaths. So whatever you did on the first side, you want to try and mirror it on the second side. So if you're getting in a little lower, take your time coming down. Work to open the chest. If those left toes are turned out, it's just a tiny, tiny bit. Just like we did to get that psoas line free when we were hugging our knee to our chest. And it's not a big turnout. And when you're ready, we let it go. Plank or back to dog. Take your vinyasa. And as we meet in down dog, we can enjoy a couple of nice, deep, relaxing breaths. Come back to just feeling through the whole body. Grounding. Releasing. Let's take it to the top of the mat. Lift the heels, soften the knees, step or float it. Lengthen out. Deepen in. You can rise up through chair, inhaling. All the way to stand, exhaling. Grab your strap. And take a moment to stand tall. So our next adventure is Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana A into the B variation. So we're going to be standing tall, right knee into the chest, left knee into the chest. Let's start there. Since we stood on the right side to begin our last standing balance. Drop the left hip down, hug the right side in. And then if you're good here, strap the bottom of the left foot or hold your big toe to extend out. You could also do the fork lift. Get your hands underneath the thigh, same as we did in the beginning. Work to open the chest. Sink the left hip down. Squeeze right outer thigh in and create that balance. When you're good for it, left toes to the left. Hip keeps dropping. And the left toes move leftward. Try and keep the right thigh pulling straight back. So it's not going to move. Try and get straight up and down here. Right arm can reach to the right. Couple breaths. Is it possible to release the strap and keep the leg up? And then release it down. Nice. Let's take it over to the second side. Restrap. So hug in. And sink down right side. And then strap it around the right foot. Extend it out. Shoulders deep down the back. I'll give you a different angle on this side. Just because. So left hip hugging the midline, right hip sinking down. Strap to the right hand. Open the chest, turn the right toes, and make your way open. Continue to sink the right hip down as the right toes lift. Left outer leg hugs into the midline a little bit. Left thigh pulls straight back into its own hamstring. Reach that left arm to the left if it helps. And stand tall. Try and hold it up with some muscular strength. And then release it down. Let's touch the earth, breathing in. Breathe out, fold over the thighs. Lengthen your heart forward, step back to plank or downward dog if you are not interested in another vinyasa. We'll all meet there. Down dog. All right. Let's drop down onto the knees and cross the heels, swing the legs through. Take a couple of breaths in the danda. So let's roll the inner thighs in a little bit. Widen out the back of the pelvis. Plant the hands by the hips, uplift the chest. We're going to set up for Ardha Matsyendrasana. So let's bring the right leg over top the left leg. And we'll bring the left hand around the right thigh. Give yourself a nice little spin towards the right. Right hand moves back behind you to help you uplift. And it can be very helpful to move the left leg a little further to the right. So your knee kind of lines up with your navel. Find a deeper twist there. You can also bring it into the fuller expression, I should say, with the left heel around by the right hip. But both hips are rooted. We're lifting tall and twisting right. You might even take the left elbow around the right leg. If you want to take it to the sky and hook it around, that's another way of getting there. Just working your chest up, belly back and in. And then using shoulder blades into the back to help guide yourself around. You might need to bring those right ribs a little closer in towards the middle. Try and lengthen up and rotate it. Give it another breath. Full inhale. Both sitting bones planted. Exhale. All the breath out. Let's inhale and wind the head to the left shoulder. And exhale. Unwind the whole spine. Give it a nice deep breath in, danda. And second side. Lengthen up. Try and go for whatever you did on the first side, on the second side. Grounding down, we're going to pull ourselves around to the left. Left hand behind the back to help uplift the spine. So rather than leaning back, we want to try and lean a little more forward. And open ourselves around. Every breath in, a nice uplifting. Every breath out, rooting through the hips. Working to roll it open from the navel. If you want to take the right arm up, hook it over left leg. Might be able to get a little taller, shoulders down the back, and a little deeper into the rotation of the spine. Give it another breath. Full breath in here. All the way to empty, all the breath out. And we'll unwind the head over the right shoulder, inhaling, And exhale, unwind the spine. You just cross the left shin in front of the right. Rock forward, pull back into downward dog. Option 2, Vinyasa. Or just to remain in dog pose once again, you choose. All right. And as we meet back in the downward facing, we are going to inhale to plank. We're going to roll over to right side plank. Exhale. So feel the side stacking up. We're going to turn the left toes to the sky. We're going to bend the left knee and try and get the left knee into the left hand. And just pull it into the body. See if that works for you. If you can get your left big toe, you're more than welcome to work to extend it up. So we are now externally rotating left leg, pulling the right thigh straight back, lifting up through the chest and opening. Maybe you look up, and then we'll release. Bring it down, Chaturanga, up dog or cobra, back to downward dog. And we'll enjoy that on the second side. Inhaling to plank, exhaling side plank. So just pause in side plank if that's your edge. Turn the right toes up, pause there. Knee in towards the chest, opening up. You might be able to get the big toe. And then work to extend it up. So the external rotation is in the lifted leg. Bottom leg is strong. Pushing up and pulling back a little bit. Maybe a big inhale. And then exhale. Do the Vinyasa. And we'll land back in dog pose. A couple breaths. All right. Let's take the right leg up. Step it up in between the hands. As if you were going to head towards Warrior One. We set up the feet, maybe a little shorter, and straighten both legs. This is Parsvakonasana, the pyramid pose. So we're going to continue to pull. Right leg straight back. Might even lift the heel up off the ground a little bit. Feel the back of the leg on. Get the weight into the left heel. And ground down under the big toe. And inner heel, we want to squeeze. Outer leg in. Feel that inner thigh soften back. Hands to hips, breathing in. Belly to back. Breathing out all the way up. Big inhale. Exhale here. See if you can get the right side back a little more if it works. Left side. Feeling the outer hip squeeze in, inner thigh soften back and aim out. In front of the pelvis lifting. Back of the pelvis lengthening. Arms up. Hands behind the back to interlace. Let's uplift the chest. Shoulder heads back, down and in. I recommend a bend in the elbows. You can soften the front ribs. Lengthen the down and crown up. And breathe in. From that hinge in the hips, we're going to feel like we're picking the hips up, pouring them over the thighs. Keep a little micro bend in that right knee. Keep breathing. Just another breath or two. Hugging right outer hip in, softening left inner thigh back. You can release your hands to the earth and find some length, fold in. And we're going to bend the right knee, step the left foot to meet the right. Inhale, exhale. Let's rise up to Utkatasana chair pose. Come all the way to stand. So now we're going to stand on the right leg. Take the left leg up and into a figure four shape. So we are going to have to squeeze that right outer leg in. We've got the external rotation of the left femur, but we want to pull the right leg straight back. Maybe feel that left outer leg hug in. Let's take the hands to the heart. Breathe in, and we're going to breathe out. Try and squat it down. Right leg is pulling straight back, hugging in, hugging in, hugging in. Left side dropping down. And that femur is externally rotating. But to keep it square, you might need to squeeze that left outer thigh in a little bit. Inhale up. So twice more. Or just sit deep into that squat. Inhale. And exhale. See if you can hold the squat. Inhale the arms. Exhale. One more deep in. And all the way up. Shake it out. Reaching up. Fold it out. We'll lengthen forward and we'll just step back. Downward facing dog. Let's do the second side. Left leg goes up. Right up in between the hands. Come into the pyramid. A little wider than heel to heel. Left leg pulls straight back. I recommend maybe a little micro lift to that left heel just to feel the weight move back into the right foot. And we ground the inner foot and squeeze the outer leg in. Feel that internal rotation of the back leg. Bring the right hip a little forward and up. And the hips come a little side by side as you lengthen hands to hips. Squeeze belly to back. Inhale to stand. And then just a couple breaths here to try and reorganize. Does the right hip come up any more forward? And left side pull any more backward. And create any more space in the back of the pelvis. Lengthen the tail, lift through the front. Arms give you a little lengthening up. Squeezing front to back together as you exhale. Let's inhale fully. And pour it out. Just trying to get halfway. Right? It's a good place to try and hang. Pull the left side back. Lift right inner arch and squeeze right outer thigh in. Continue to feel the shoulder blades into the back. Bottom sternum to navel and lengthen. Forward and out. And when you're ready to release the arms, keep the chest wide, keep pulling the left hip back down. And the weight is in the back leg if you can find it, right heel in the earth. Breathing. All right, we're going to step the right foot to the left. Lengthen. Deepen. Chair if you prefer it. Breathing in. All the way up. Breathing out. And then standing on the left leg, figure four. So trying to get the knees as level as possible. Left outer leg's going to have to hug in. And we find that external rotation of the right femur. So pull the left thigh straight back. Breathe in and breathe out. Try and squat it down. Squat it slow. Take your time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Give it another breath. And down. So keeping the hips low. Maybe you can get the arms high. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale. And exhale. So folding in half or touch the earth, chair pose, breathing in. Exhale over the thighs. Lengthen out, step or float, Chaturanga. Enjoy Vinyasa. We'll make our way back into dog pose. Couple deep breaths. Keep your arms working nice and strong. Opening up the chest, we'll bring the knees down. And walk the hands a little forward. A little quarter dog or puppy pose. And work to soften the forehead towards the earth. When we widen out the upper arms and allow the spine to soften in between the shoulder blades. Just be mindful to keep the belly hugging the back, the bottom part of the sternum, reaching for the tops of the thighs. And then as you're ready, let's bring the forearms down. Hug them in through the elbows. Slither on down, land in a Sphinx Pose. So take a moment to reset. Tops of the feet to the mat, pinky toes down. Inner thighs up. Outer thighs to the earth. Nice big deep breath in, lifting the chest, pushing down through the arms, shoulder heads back. Blades down and into the upper back. Let's squeeze the belly to the back, exhaling. Feel the tailbone lengthen back through those inner thighs. Got a nice feeling of the backside widening. Settling. Give it another breath. So the hands can push, and the upper arms can pull back. Shoulder blades drop down and in. You might even not moving the elbows away from each other. Move the upper arms isometrically away, just so you can feel that widening out. We're going to bend at the right knee and go for another quad stretch here, wherever you'd like the left hand for support. If you can get the fingers in line with the toes, that's usually ideal. We can give that pelvis a press to the earth. Feel the front of the pelvis, the pubic bone grounded. The right shoulder working up and forward, the left shoulder working back and down. Trying to, once again, get a nice deep opening into the front of the right thigh. Give it another breath or two. And when you're ready, change it out for the second side. So I often reach the inner knee of that bent leg, the inner thigh backward. Feel that outer left leg hugging the midline a little bit. Just open the chest. Left shoulder blade pushes forward and right shoulder blade pulls back and moves down. And releasing. Take a moment to waggle it out, lower down for a second. We're going to set up for Dhanurasana, bending at the knees. And getting the hands back for the tops of the feet. Let's move in stages. Nice big inhale. Squeeze the belly to the back as you exhale. And feel that tailbone lengthen back through those wide, soft inner thighs. And then inhale, kick the shins back to lift the chest. Exhale. More belly to back, tailbone back and in. And then lift off. Breathing in. And breathing out. Couple breaths here. Give it another big inhale. And come on down when you're ready. Let it go. We're going to press back for a child's pose. So just a couple breaths here. And let's sit on the heels. So press yourself back to sit in Vajrasana. Let's take a moment. Bring hand to the heart as we make our way to upright kneeling. Curl toes under on this first one. Place a block between the inner thighs if you'd like. Even use a wall. Right? Feel the inner thighs softening, tailbone lengthening, and we're rising all the way up in front of the spine to the heart. Exhaling, tailbone down. Inhaling, that lift starts down the lower 12th rib up to the top of the chest. And you can release the hands behind the back and use them to help to bring some of that flesh down. So give it another breath here, setting yourself up for the camel. You might just stay right here. Bottom sternum hugging in towards the navel, lifting up out of the kidney, lower 12th rib, all the way up to the top of the chest. Might be able to keep your heart up and drop the hands back. Chin in, back of the neck long as you rebound from the hands, the shoulders go up into the upper back like a little shelf. Squeeze belly to back, tailbone to the earth, and bottom sternum to navel. And release. And then once again, back to upright kneeling. However you would like to get there, toes under or not. You might just sweep the hands behind the back, inner thighs softening back. Just lifting and pouring up and back. Ustrasana one last time. So we're going to cross the shins, swing the legs through. We'll end up in Dandasana for a brief second. Hands down by the hips, chest tall, legs straight and strong. Let's put the hands back behind. Give yourself that big loop in the shoulders like we were doing in Ustrasana. Press the shoulder blades into the back. And then we'll draw the feet in. We'll lift the chest up. And you might need to keep your feet out just a little bit far enough that you can get your right ankle over top the left thigh, right below the knee, and then still we want that openness in the chest. Shoulder blades into the back, belly deep into the front. Try and balance there on the front edge of the sitting bones. Let's take a little reverse table here. Lift up on the inhale. Exhale. Stay up. Inhale. Balancing. What do you need to do to stabilize? Exhale. Come down, work to land on the sitting bones. So we're going to continue this opening through the chest. And then this deepening of the belly back and in. If you can pick the hips up and take them a little closer to the left heel, go for it. Continue to open chest. Squeezing front ribs in. Finding a little more lift up onto the sitting bones. Getting a little closer in. So just continue to move in this direction. You might be able to get your left hip all the way up there, right up against the left heel. The right hip is moving down away from your body, trying to come into that big lift through the chest and deepen in. So if you're good for it, stay right here, right? Or start to walk the hands forward, and we're going to come all the way up. So we get the fingers either side. You can use your blocks. Try and get your left heel right into the perineum or around there. And I have to squeeze the left outer thigh in. And try and pull it straight back. Left leg straight back and right leg hugging in. You might be able to balance there. Hands up off the earth. Maybe for just a moment. I'll give you another view here. So it's a challenging balance, but don't overthink it. Have a little fun. Breathe. And when you're ready to get out of there, just bring your hands back behind you and sit back down. Yay. Walk it back far enough that you can easily make your way out and change sides. I'm going to do this one this way. So when you're good for it, left leg over top the right, or whatever you started with. Open the chest, flex that left foot, continue to breathe. And lifting the hips, getting the right sitting bone a little closer to the right heel. Still continuing to drop the left thigh bone away from you, right where it meets the hip socket. And one breath at a time. Getting a little closer if it's available. If your right hip and your right heel meet, they pretty much stay connected, and you just come right up onto the ball of the right foot and let your right heel right into the center of the pelvis. So the right leg has to pull straight back, and the left leg is finding that external rotation. Find some balance. Breathe well. Smile. This is my strong side. Let it go. We're going to try it again. Let it be playful. It's never about getting it right. It's just about finding those actions again and seeing what they can do for you. And then when you've had enough play, you come on back down. And we'll release. So your choice, just a full reverse table. If you want to bring your feet out a little bit further, it can be the full Parsvakonasana, which is like a reverse planking. Breathing in, the big toes stay grounded, the inner thighs soften down, and the shoulders go into the back. Big pop through the chest like Ustrasana. I like to rock a little side to side, front to back even, feel where you can get more open, more grounded through all four extremities. Breathing in. I'm going to breathe out, bend the knees, set the hips down, come back to that big opening in the chest. Exhale, draw the knees in. Stay here or work to bring the arms out. Navasana, breath or two. Bring a little tone into the belly. And when you're ready, we're just going to set those legs down. Lift up. Dandasana once more. And then we'll set up for Ardha Chandrasana. So the right knee is going to come directly over top the left knee. There should be no daylight between the knees. If that's challenging, take the right foot to the top of the left inner thigh. Work to square the pelvis, Janusharshasana. So wherever you are, rising up, rooting through the hips, and going for that nice deep forward bend. Open the chest, and find your way out. Continue to pull the left leg straight back. Just lengthen out through the crown. Soften in. Last couple breaths. Just full flopping over whatever's out there. And then inhale, lengthen. Exhale. Back to the danda. Breathe in. Nice tall spine. Breathe out. Side B. Breathing in. Ardha Gomukhasana or Janusharshasana. Fold out. Last couple breaths, just flop it on down. Those outer hips that we hug in, and all those warrior twos are now getting a stretch. So enjoy another breath or two, or lengthen. And release. Once again. Get nice and tall. And let's move into Baddha Konasana. So you can make a nice big diamond with the legs, or you can get the heels in closer, whatever you prefer, but let's really open up the chest here. Bring front and the back together. And then finding your way out, one breath at a time. Take your time. Every in-breath a little more open through the top of the chest and softening the inner thighs. And you just occupy the space you created as you fold in a little deeper. Continue to breathe and find length and space. If your feet are far enough away from me, you might be able to rest your head on your feet. And then we lengthen. And coming up, you can use the hands to the outsides of the legs to help draw them together. We'll stretch things out. Start to finish off here with Parsvakonasana. So if you need a little elevation in your seat, or you just want to give those knees a good bend, you want to feel the tops of the thighs descending down, but the bottom or the tops of the shins might be pressing up. And holding the big toes, or getting a little further, deeper into your forward bend. Coming up when you're ready. On that inhale, lengthen. Use the belly to the back to keep your lower back protected. And then we'll make our way down onto the back. So as many breaths as you need. And as you find yourself on your back, I like to go right into letting the knees go wide and hold the inner shins, inner ankles. It's a really nice release for the tops of the inner thighs and the very bottom of the psoas system there. And And you could take it a little deeper to the outside edges of the feet. Happy baby. Is it possible to ground the back of the pelvis to the earth and the shoulder blades? Feeling a little natural curve return to the low back, perhaps? More than welcome to turn this into a straddle. I'll bring the hands to the inner thighs and push out through the heels, or if it's comfortable enough, hold the big toes. Sometimes you can get a little more extension there. I'll bring the hands to the outsides of the legs to help bring the legs together. I like to bring the feet down and finish with a twist. So your favorite twist, or keep it simple, arms wide and just a little shift of the hips to the right so the knees can pull towards the chest and drop left. And you want to maybe even flex the feet a moment here and feel the outer side of the left body active, just active enough to feel the right hip stack on the left, and then keep the right shoulder grounded, and the right knee headed a little leftward. And the right hip sinking away from your ribs. Second side, in your own breath time. Just a few breaths. When you're feeling evenly cared for on both sides, back to center. If there are any last finishing moves you need, go for it. Otherwise, Shavasana. Stretch it out. Shoulders deep down the back. Place the back of the skull on the earth, somewhere around where it meets the spine. Feel free to roll the toes in and out, and just kind of land where they feel best. Try and give that lower back some length, though. Make sure it feels spacious, tailbone long to the heels. Let go of everything. With the need to work or try. Nothing to accomplish. Let go of the breath. Soften the face, the tongue, the jaw, around the eyes. Let your whole body melt into the earth. Relaxed, releasing. deeply relaxed, somewhere in between awake and asleep, right in between your inner world and your outer world, between the future and the past, witnessing yourself open and receptive to what is here now. Let's find a little gentle, familiar movement back out at the edges of the body. Reawakening, but staying connected to that presence and that wisdom deep within the heart. You can bring your feet flat to the mat. Reach the arms overhead, get some breath moving in. We'll roll off to the side and press up to sit. Nice and gentle. So we usually suggest rolling to the right side because your heart's on the left and we just keep some pressure off the organ that way. Otherwise, you can really roll whichever way you'd like. And give yourself a nice, easy cross-legged seat. Rooting down through the hips and uplifting through the crown. Let's return the hands to the heart. And a brief moment to feel into any changes in the body-mind. And another moment of gratitude and appreciation here. Bowing chin to chest to the presence and the wisdom that resides within the heart. To the one breath and the one life that moves through us all. Grateful for all of the benefits we get from our yoga, all the blessings that we have in our life. This beautiful yoga community that we share. Let's ask that those benefits and blessings that we receive help to benefit all beings everywhere. Om Shanti. Namaste. Thank you guys so much for your practice. Have a fantastic Sunday. Be well, stay safe. Stay with your yoga. It's keeping me sane. Hopefully doing the same for you. I'll see you down the road. I'm back on Wednesday morning for another class.